Good morning. My name is Jarvis Brown. I'm the Central Region Business Development Specialist for MELTRIC Corporation, located in Franklin, Wisconsin. At MELTRIC, we manufacture a switch-weighted plug-in receptacle that can be made and broken under load. At the end of the presentation, I'll go over a few more details of MELTRIC and our range of products. Prior to joining MELTRIC, I worked for USA Bluebook as an inside sales rep. USA Bluebook is a wastewater distributor located in Waukegan, Illinois. Today I'll be speaking on electrical safety through NFPA 70E compliance. The talking points are as follows: arc blast statistics, cost responsibilities and issues associated with electrical accidents, NFPA 70E compliance, Articles 110, 120, and 130 in the NFPA 70E standard, and some questions and a summarization of the presentation. The most current statistics reported by the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, Census of Fatal Occupational Injuries, and the Survey of Occupational Injuries were last reported in 2018. There were 160 electrical fatalities in 2018, which was an 18% increase over the previous year and the highest number of fatalities since 2011. In 2018, however, there was a low number of non-fatal electrical injuries that was just over 1,500. That was a 29% decrease over 2017 and an 8% decrease over 2016. All electrical related fatalities were caused by electrical shock. No fatalities were caused by burns. Contact with and or exposure to electrical current accounted for 3% of all fatalities in 2018 and 2017 accounting for 2.6% and hovering just around 3% from 2014 to 2016. Many of these fatalities involved self-employed workers and occurred outside the traditional workplace, so a broader spectrum of electrical safety training is needed. Although electrical shock accidents are frequent, electrocutions are the leading cause of industrial fatalities. Few are aware of how little current is actually required to cause severe injury or death. A large number of electrical injuries are caused by burns because of improper PPE. So the clothing these workers were wearing caught on fire. So part of your awareness is to educate yourself and understand your boundaries and wear the proper PPE before you enter into any area that has arc flash potential. You have to know and understand your distance for the least potential for electrical accidents. Another piece that falls into electrical safety is the excessive cost of OSHA fines and why compliance will help you avoid this. OSHA fines alone can start at $13,000 and can increase to upwards of $125,000 per violation if a company is found to be willful or is a repeat offender. Now, once a company pays fines and medical costs associated with the individual or individuals injured in the accident, the company's financial responsibilities are not over. There will be financial loss for everyday operations, as well as damage to equipment and the facility. So electrical safety is critical to know so you don't put yourself in harm's way by not being compliant. OSHA created standards for the workplace to help keep workers safe from electrical injuries and hazards. OSHA 29 CFR 1910 standards include information regarding a wide range of electrical safety stemming from the design build to everyday operations. Included in the standards are workplace hazard assessments, information about specific insulated tools and how the operator is to be trained on how to use these tools properly. There's also information about safety signage that should be posted around the facility, tags for lockout, tagout, and signs eliminating employee access to areas with live conductors of 50 volts or more. Electrical safety is crucial when dealing with areas that water, wastewater, and electricity coexist, And unfortunately, electrical issues are associated with the two. Some of these issues can come from seasonal changes as well as areas of extreme weather consistencies in different parts of the country. Treatment plants have numerous 480 volt outlets, and the main power source could be located at a different part of the plant. So communication is key to not becoming exposed to live current. You may have an inexperienced worker issue, or a trainee is involved. There may be outdated connections, aging plants, and with these changing financial times, projects may be put on hold as well. So how do we mitigate electrical hazards? To increase safety and mitigate electrical hazards, the NFPA 70E standards are the requirements for safe workplace practices to protect personnel by reducing exposure to major electrical hazards. The NFPA 70E created standards for entities to create a safe work environment. By OSHA's request, the NFPA 70E guides companies on how to avoid electrical fatalities due to shock, electrocutions, arc flash, and arc blast. NFPA 70E helps companies comply with OSHA 1910 Subpart S and OSHA 1926 Subpart K. So what does that include? It provides companies with guidelines for keeping the highest standards regarding electrical safety in the workplace, and it's the #1 source for companies to educate themselves and their personnel in complying with OSHA. NFPA 70E is also used in the legal process when determining responsibility for workplace injuries. The NFPA 70E was developed in the US and adopted by Canada, CSA Z462 Workplace Electrical Safety, and is gaining more recognition in Mexico. Article 110, General Requirements for Electrical Safety Related Work Practices. In Article 110, the employer is required to keep a safety program. This program includes documentation that covers electrical safety for activities regarding different voltages, energy levels, and circuit conditions, and this program must be available to all employees. It's important that the operator is qualified to execute his job duty. In the safety program, risk assessments are critical procedures to realize electrical issues in order to establish the level of risk and education of how to approach the risk of the task at hand. It's important an employee is educated on that by eliminating risk and becoming a task qualified worker and being trained to the equal level of the job before performing the job duty is the responsibility of the employer. The safety program will train you on awareness on how to recognize different conditions of the work to be performed, to be aware of your surroundings and boundaries. What kind of danger does the task present? Are there any long-standing issues with the work that's to be done? And if so, has that been communicated? The safety program will also include information about any audits performed. This can be done on a piece of equipment such as a motor or a mixer, or does the location of where you'll be working have any long-standing issues as well? Do the lift station pumps need constant servicing due to where they're located? All of this must be included in a safety program. Another important part of the workplace safety program is performing a risk assessment and what workers should know. And as part of Article 110, a risk assessment should train workers on how to recognize risk, understand the risk, evaluate it, and implement the hierarchy of risk control. The training must be level to the task to be performed, so in order for this to happen, the employee must become a task qualified worker. A task qualified worker is one who has demonstrated skills and knowledge related to the construction and operation of electrical equipment and installations and has received safety training to identify the hazards and reduce the associated risk. The task qualified worker is trained to recognize potential hazards, know what equipment is energized or not, know the voltages of exposed conductors, and understand the degree of energy that they present. Also, to identify on how to assess and control the risk. Qualified workers should know how to calculate the correct PPE to be worn. It's the qualified worker's responsibility to create the work plan, know how to lock out, tag out, and have an emergency procedure for workers involved in an electrical incident. But first, the qualified worker has to determine the arc flash boundary. Article 120. Article 120 establishes an electrically safe work condition. Before any job that includes an electrical risk, the employer and employee must start at the initial location of the power source. Now, this power source may be located in a remote location, or it could be located in sight from where the task is to be performed. What is the proper PPE to be worn in relation to the established arc flash boundary? The qualified worker must know the procedure for the proper interruption of the main power load, open the device, and verify de-energization. In the case that the task is deemed normal operation per NFPA 70E standard Article 130.7, no PPE is needed, but always implement safe work practices when working in any industrial environment. All power sources associated with the task must be de-energized and locked out, tagged out to create the safest work environment. Article 130 deals with working on energized parts, and by doing so, a work permit must be constructed before the work can be started. Work permits require a description of where the power source is related to the workspace involved. For example, the removal of a mixer from a tank, which is the work to be done, and the justification is to remove the mixer for servicing or replacement. The safety program must be performed to determine where the risk is and how it will be approached, what area is safe, and what PPE is needed. Where does the arc flash boundary start? And only the task qualified worker can be directly involved with the work task. Finally, the work permit is to be approved and signed off by a department official. So as a result of work practices consistent with the nature of the extent of the associated electrical hazards shall be used to safeguard employees from injury while working on or near exposed electrical or circuit parts that are or can become energized. Before you can work on or near exposed energized parts, a shock assessment must be done. This assessment includes areas of shock risk regarding the task. 1. Where is the shock risk? How to protect the worker and determine the work distance. And 3. What are the extra precautions taken to create an extra level of protection? Once the risk assessment is completed, how do we proceed? First, we have to understand the boundaries or the limits of approach. 20 feet is the distance an arc blast can travel to give an unprotected person a 50% chance of receiving second-degree burns. So what are the limits of approach? The limited approach boundary is the stay-back boundary for the non-qualified worker. The restricted boundary is the closest to the hazard that only the task-qualified worker can enter. Identifying the risk and protection boundaries can only be determined by the task-qualified worker. Workers should understand all parts of electrical safety program, know when to consult the hierarchy of risk control methods, and to determine all safety measures. So the last few slides are on a variety of PPE that can be chosen. And in summarization, be aware and continue to educate yourself on that by eliminating risk is risk control. So a few things on MELTRIC. Our DS inline is our load break line up to 100 horsepower, 200 amps. It's an NEC approved line of sight disconnect. It's a UL switch rated plug-in receptacle. It's IP69K rated, fully field repairable and modular, so you can actually purchase our device fully assembled or piece by piece. And those two options, it's going to cost you the same amount. So we drastically reduce the cost of ownership. Additionally, we have a DXN line, which is our hazardous location line. Also, it is horsepower rated up to 100 horsepower, and our DXN line is Class 1 Div 2. We offer a multi-pin line for communication and control. We have a high-end capacity line of connectors that offer 300, 400, and 600 amp multi-pole solution for power distribution. All of MELTRIC corporate and manufacturing is under one roof. We have a 92% standard for 1 to 2 day shipping. Everything that we have in MELTRIC is made to order, so it doesn't take us much time to get it made and out the door. We carry about a 6 to 8 month stock of all our materials and in all of our lines. We have worldwide availability, 5-year electrical warranty. We have an engineering and a marketing department in-house. And if there's any other information that you may need on MELTRIC, you can either, I believe you can probably get it through TPO Magazine, and I'd be happy to help you out with any other information that you need. So with that, I'd like to thank you for attending. I'd like to thank TPO Magazine for giving me this opportunity to present to you critical and essential workers in the water and wastewater industry. Thank you.